This truck has not used a drop of gasoline in 17 years. Big Oil never banned this. Nearly 1 million vehicles ran on wood during World War II. The real reason it vanished is far more dangerous than any conspiracy. A technical manual stamped ORNL 6404 sits in the archives at Oak Ridge National Laboratory. Published in 1978 for the United States Department of Energy, it lays out in clinical detail how to build and operate a wood gas generator for vehicles during emergencies. This is not a fringe pamphlet or backyard myth. It is a federally funded engineering document written by scientists tasked with preparing for real fuel shortages. The manual's existence alone disproves any claim that wood gasifiers were banned by oil companies or by government decree. Regulations exist, but nowhere in the United States or European law is there a ban on the technology itself. The proof does not end on paper. In rural Alabama, Wayne Keith has driven trucks powered by wood gas for over 17 years. His converted Dodge Dakota and Ford F-250 have hauled hay, reached highway speeds, and covered thousands of miles without gasoline. Keith's builds are not showpieces. They are working vehicles, documented in news stories and public demonstrations. His record stands as living evidence that wood gasification is both real and reliable, provided it is engineered and operated with care. Subscribe for more stories that separate fact from fiction. By the height of World War II, wood gasification was not a fringe experiment. It became a matter of national survival across Europe. In Germany, a government decree issued in April 1944 made it mandatory for all civilian vehicles to operate with a gasifier or face heavy penalties. Production surged, and by spring of 1945, nearly 500,000 wood gas vehicles were in use across the Reich, from private cars to municipal buses and trucks. France, under occupation, converted an estimated 150,000 to 200,000 vehicles, while the United Kingdom produced about 30,000 to 40,000 conversion kits for civilian use. Italy's wartime records show roughly 10,000 conversions before the armistice. Sweden, striving for energy independence, implemented a state subsidy covering most of the cost for conversions. By 1944, the Swedish fleet included around 70,000 wood gas vehicles, a figure documented in government trade reports. Across Europe, the total number of operational wood gas vehicles peaked near 850,000 to 900,000. These were not isolated cases. They were the result of national policies, technical manuals, and economic necessity. The sheer scale of this effort proved that wood gasification could keep a continent moving when liquid fuel was cut off. Subscribe for more stories that separate fact from fiction. Every working wood gas system relies on the same 5 essential components, each playing a specific role in turning solid fuel into engine-ready gas. At the top sits the fuel hopper, loaded with dry wood or biomass. Gravity feeds this fuel downward into the heart of the system, a sealed chamber where only a limited amount of air is allowed in. This restricted combustion zone is the key. It is like putting a lid on a campfire. The flames die down, but the wood keeps smoldering, releasing a smoky mix of gases instead of burning to ash. That gas, still hot and carrying tar and particles, exits through a side outlet rather than the top. It then passes through a cooler and a filter, often a water bath or metal mesh, where much of the tar and ash are trapped. Finally, the clean gas travels to the engine's intake. Because wood gas carries less energy than gasoline, most engines see a noticeable drop in power, often losing 15 to 20%. This 5-part sequence is simple in concept, but each stage is critical for reliable operation. Carbon monoxide is the silent threat at the heart of every wood gas system. Even a small leak can fill a closed garage or cabin with enough carbon monoxide to cause unconsciousness or death in minutes. The gas is colorless and odorless, and standard smoke alarms offer no warning. Incident reports from the last decade include hospitalizations and fatalities, often from makeshift builds or indoor use. Tar is another persistent hazard. If the gas is not cooled and filtered correctly, sticky condensates foul carburetors, clog filters, and can ignite inside the engine or exhaust. Regular cleaning is mandatory, not optional. Fire risk extends beyond the engine bay. A backfire or leaking hose can turn a repair into a flash fire. Legally, the system is hemmed in by strict emissions rules. In the United States, the EPA's Tier 4 standards for non-road engines in the Clean Air Act cover particulate and hydrocarbon output. The European Union's Regulation 2016-1628 sets similar limits and requires safety certification for any mobile gasifier. No law bans wood gas outright, but the regulatory bar is high for a reason. These systems are not beginner projects. Treating them as a cheap or casual do-it-yourself shortcut is not only misleading, and it is dangerous. Subscribe for more history, science, and safety stories. Gasoline's dominance comes down to pure numbers. Pound for pound, gasoline holds about 3 times more usable energy than wood gas. That means a car running on wood gas must carry and burn far more fuel just to travel the same distance. Filling up with liquid fuel takes only minutes and requires no daily maintenance, while wood gasifiers demand constant feeding, cleaning, and careful monitoring. The operator must manage not just fuel, but also tar buildup, temperature, and airflow. For commercial transport, time and reliability are money. Once petroleum returned to the market after the war, wood gasifiers faded almost overnight, not from conspiracy, but from the simple math of energy and convenience. Today, wood gas survives as a niche solution for those who value resilience over convenience. Off-grid homesteads and remote workshops sometimes turn to small engine gasifiers, not for nostalgia, but to keep the lights on when fuel supplies run thin or prices spike. For these users, the economic motive is practical. Local wood can power generators or water pumps when diesel is scarce or costly. No major corporation controls this supply chain, and no central authority dictates access. The system's real value lies in its independence, not in easy profits or mass adoption. Subscribe for more stories that challenge energy myths. Wood gas is real history, not a cheap shortcut or a beginner's project. Its risks are deadly, its engineering unforgiving. Safety comes first, every time. Subscribe for more stories grounded in fact.